Cruz. My pronouns are she and her. It's my privilege to welcome you today to First Parish Unitarian Universalist here in the meeting house of the Pilgrim Memorial. As COVID is still with us, we ask that you do wear a mask while singing, or else sing very softly. We don't want to take any chances that we shouldn't. We have refreshments after the service outdoors, up the driveway. Just follow people up the driveway for coffee and other beverages and snacks and stimulating conversation. Whoever you are, whatever you believe, whomever you love, you are welcome here with us. Come walk with us this hour. Our call to worship.
Good morning.
Oh, sorry.
My name is the Reverend Arthur Lavoie, and I would like to offer a special welcome to any who are watching this service online on our YouTube channel, one of the local PAC TV stations, or also it will be available on Facebook. So we are delighted that you are part of our community experiencing the service, and we want you to feel welcome here and welcome to call us anytime that you might want to know more about this congregation or Unitarian Universalism. The www.firstparishuu.org is the email address and it is the website, and if you go there, there's a phone number to contact Jean in the office and to get information to me if you'd like to speak to me. For those who want to sing hymns and don't have a mask with you, there are some on the little table up here. So you can come up and get some, or we can kind of pass them around for people who need a mask to sing.
The call to worship this morning is from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction. You can now stand in body and spirit and take the teal hymnal. Turn to page 1018 for our first hymn.
And there are more teal hymnals on the back table if you need to pick up a hymnal.
Come
for our chalice lighting, and Maya is going to light the chalice for us this morning. And join me in the chalice lighting words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated. There aren't a lot of bags up here. We have to get more bags.
We need to get more bags.
Did anyone bring backpacks or, this is a new tradition we're starting this year, on the Sunday after our in-gathering, a blessing of our backpacks and the bags we use to go to work and to carry our stuff. So if anyone has a bag that wants to come up and bring your bag up, remember, we'll announce it more for next year.
And if you don't have a bag but you want to come up so that you have something to bring home to your bag, you can come up too.
Is there a tag you can bring home to your bag? Many of us carry bags. They could be grocery bags, book bags, laptop bags, or backpacks. Some bring them to school, some bring them to work, some bring them to stores, and some have other needs for them. Some have bags to bring on a trip, and some have bags to go back and forth between parents' houses.
Some bags are full, and some bags are empty. Some bags have lots of colors, and some do not. Some are very full and heavy, and some have lots of room. Each of these bags and backpacks tells us a story. It tells us a story about ourselves and about others. They are an extension of us, whether neat and organized, messy and overflowing, or empty and waiting to be filled. Some have lunches, some have knitting.
The mess from my bag is sitting on my kitchen table. I cleaned it out before I came in this morning. Today, as a congregation, we will offer our love and blessings to these bags and backpacks and the people who carry them. We will wrap our love and support around them. And if there's anyone else that wants to bring up a bag or a purse, please do so.
Find the love and support you hold in your bodies. Call it forward in your hands. Now hold out your hand and send it forward to all of these friends and family, these members of our spiritual community.
For all of us and the bags and purses and backpacks that we carry, we hope that you feel the love and support we send to you. We want you to know we are here for you and will support you. We wish for you a year full of love, learning, growth, and support. We share with you now a tag. to represent that love. So if you want to come up at some point, if you didn't bring a bag, you can come up and get a tag to attach to your bag. Oh, I should read the back. And the back of all of the tags say the same thing, right? You are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are valued. See others. Listen to others. Give love. Help others feel valued.
And so if you want to claim your bag, come claim it. Help yourself to a tag. Help yourself to a tag if you don't have your bag. We are now going to sing as the children and I go on our journey of learning and discovery. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine.
The reading this morning is by Peter Stanky. Visiting a relative who lives on the Great South Bay off the shores of Long Island, several of us joined him for a boat ride. We were on the bay in early afternoon, enjoying the breeze and a fast ride. Some dark, scattered clouds cast shadows on the water, but the sky was mostly blue. The weather forecast called for sunshine with scattered showers in the evening. But several of the dark clouds suddenly bonded together. A strong breeze accompanied the darkening sky. Within minutes, everything became gray, concealing any sight of land. The wind-driven rain made visibility even more difficult. Unable to see land, the skipper turned to his boat's compass to orient himself and the boat. Motoring slowly, he was able to dodge other boats on the way as we headed for the now invisible shore. Eventually, we saw partial outlines of beach houses as we approached land. Totally drenched and hyper alert on our own adrenaline, we docked at our destination. Oriented by the boat's compass, we escaped harm's way, landing safely.
And that, my friends, was the Straw Hat Trio. Thank you. Irene, Marie, Karen. There are now two trios that are coming together to help do music for us. If you want to be part of a trio, please see Sandi. It's a way to have some musical variation during this COVID time without a lot of voices spouting at you. And it's a way to bring people who have musical interest and talent together to learn some music and have fun together as a small, tight group. In our reading from Peter Steinke, can you imagine what would have happened if that boat full of people, if they didn't have a working compass? Everyone on the boat might have had a slightly different opinion on the nearest point of land or the direction that needed to be taken at that crucial, frightening moment. Think about the arguments, the fights that might have erupted. At the worst possible moment, that group of people might not have been able to work together to find a solution to their problem, and it might have had dire consequences. A mission statement, a personal mission, a collective mission, those are like that compass. In weather that is either fair or foul, the compass is a guide and a point of reference that everyone can agree upon. It allows the community of people, whether that be a few people on a boat or a congregation like this one, to have a more united purpose and vision. At those times where things seem a little murky and you're not too sure where you're going, it helps prevent you and any group from tearing itself apart. Now, we also have ideas about our own personal mission in life. Whether or not we articulate it, we each have an internal compass to give us direction throughout our lives, and especially when times get tough. This fall and winter, we here at First Parish in Plymouth will be engaged in a process in which you can discern what your mission is and how you identify yourselves as a church community. You will also be clarifying how you want to be in relationship to each other with a covenant. There will be several meetings to talk about mission and covenant, beginning in the near future. Now, I don't know if you noticed when you came in the front doors, there is an old mission statement and covenant, like carved into the wall down there. I've seen versions of one you did during a previous interim ministry, but I bet no one can articulate what it is. In order to be effective, a mission statement needs to be concise and memorable, be printed in the order of service, and used occasionally during the Sunday service. The word mission comes from the Latin missio, which means sending. David Bosch writes that mission is the church sent into the world to love, to serve, to preach, to teach, to heal, to liberate. Mission is therefore the nature and purpose of the church, and many church researchers are noting that the only religious organizations that will survive the changes in today's world are those that are mission-driven, meaning that the mission is well known and everything done in that congregation points to the mission. In August 2002, I moved to Ohio, the Cleveland area, to become the interim minister of Lifespan Faith Development at the UU Church in Rocky River, just west of Cleveland. In this large congregation with 2 parish ministers on staff, I followed a minister of religious education who had been there for 27 years. Her name was Midge Squire. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman. In the 70s and 80s, she led a religious education program with 400 to 500 children. By the time I got there, in 2002, with a more aging congregation and fewer new families, there were about 120 kids in the program. The first Sunday after I moved to Cleveland in August, I decided to anonymously attend the service. I entered through the front door like any visitor and pretended that I was something other than I was, I suppose. I really didn't tell anyone who I was. The ministers were not there that Sunday. It was a summer service. Wasn't as crowded as it normally would be, but still there were over 150 people there. And no one talked to me. Now, I don't think I'm particularly scary looking or anything, but coffee hour was increasingly uncomfortable as I tried to engage a few people in conversation who themselves were kind of wary, maybe uncomfortable, when this stranger tried to talk to them. The following spring, when I was much more well-known, I preached a sermon in which I told this story. They were appalled and horrified. They had forgotten what I would consider to be part of the mission of any successful religious organization, mandated by many religious texts, to welcome the stranger. Happily, I don't think that ever happens here. But being welcoming to others is something that you always have to pay attention to. I know it's not easy to talk to somebody you don't know, and it's not just the job of the membership committee. Especially as we start a new church year, it's important to remember that you are all responsible to make sure that people feel welcome. It's also important that you remember visitors you have spoken to when they come back again, so that you can greet them again and remember them. One of the signs of a healthy, vibrant, growing congregation is how you pay attention to and care for and treat each other. You know, as I think of what it might mean to have as part of our personal and collective mission to welcome the stranger, I'm reminded once again of the 48 asylum seekers that Florida's governor had flown to Martha's Vineyard earlier this week. human beings' lives are being used as a political stunt. It appears, from everything I've seen and heard, that they are being well cared for here in Massachusetts. People have sent money and clothes and food. But think for a minute how frightening this whole situation might be for them. They have left their homes, escaping violence and poverty, arrived in a new place that is billed as the home of the free and a land of opportunity. Then they get used and shuffled around. They are plastered all over the news in ways that might put family members back home at risk. The ways we treat migrants and asylum seekers is degrading and dehumanizing. And in a supposedly Christian nation, this behavior flies against the biblical mandate to welcome the stranger. How we express this and live this out is part of our personal and collective mission. It is your spiritual values that help you clarify your own internal compass and give you some insight of what our Unitarian Universalist principles could mean in your lives. It is spiritual depth that gives you strength during times of crisis and tragedy. It is spiritual depth that grounds you so that you can take risks and reach out more to others, deal with our own biases and prejudices, and become more mission-driven. It's another thing to think about as you discern and explore your mission, is how you see yourself as a spiritual and from a spiritual and religious perspective. I know there is a hunger here for more spiritual depth as you enrich and deepen your lives. And hopefully, in this slightly post-pandemic world, we'll be able to have small group gatherings that offer that. As Unitarian Universalists, many of us have left other religious institutions because they no longer hold meaning for us. Many of us have been damaged in some way by those churches and other institutions. We carry scars and discomfort and don't know often how to articulate or develop our need for spiritual depth and understanding. I know that well. I've been there. And this is something we will continue to talk about and explore together. Now, one of the major issues that is evolving and changing in the spiritual life of UU congregations and the people we serve involves how we identify the music that is important to our spiritual lives. Music is central to our worship experience. It can reach deeply into our hearts and souls and helps give us grounding and meaning. And liturgical music is going through a lot of changes these days. We are, as a church community and as a national denomination, we are embracing more contemporary styles of music, more music that reflects different cultures and rhythms, and we're moving away from more classical styles that have less meaning for many of the younger people who might want to identify with Unitarian Universalism. Now, it's tricky making some of these changes without a clear mission to guide us. I and we are making decisions based on our own perception of the needs of the congregation and its future. We're moving away from using an organ of any kind and bringing in other musical instruments. There was a guitar used in the service last week, if you remember. There's no longer a pipe organ in this building. This electronic organ isn't working well and will probably be removed when the Mayflowers restore this building. We are thinking strongly of removing the organ in the chapel. And I'm sure that we all have feelings about this. So I will be hosting a couple of forums after church to give us some historical frame of reference and a chance to talk about the changes in our music that have been happening over the last several years. The first one will happen around 11:30 today in the chapel. In the late 1980s, I moved to Northampton, Massachusetts. The UU Society of Northampton and Florence was in the center of town, right next to City Hall. As I got more involved in the community, I began to realize that all of the progressive stuff happened in or around that church. I got involved in a gay men's social and support group that met there. The congregation was affiliated with the local chapter of the American Friends Service Committee that was doing great work for peace and justice. They supported the local food pantry, and rallies for all kinds of issues happened on the church's front lawn. I have been deeply wounded and alienated from the church of my upbringing, so it took me a couple of years to set foot in that building on a Sunday morning. But when I finally did, I found a spiritual home that saved my life and carried me into ministry. But if it wasn't for the commitment of that congregation to progressive social causes, I don't know if I would have dared attend a service. You and your social action committee are deeply committed to progressive issues, to examining our own prejudices, to calling out injustice where you see it, and providing service to the larger community. And this great work needs to also be included in and driven by your mission, by who you claim to be, and how you feel called and compelled to work in the world. It is great work that this congregation is doing. And you are great and glorious people. I want to close this morning with a kind of transliteration of a passage from the Gospel of John, chapter 3, verse 16. A more traditional, typical translation reads, For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish and have life more abundantly. So here's my transliteration of that passage. For God so loved the world that she sent you. She sent each and every one of you so that all might have life and have it more abundantly. Amen. And blessed be. Our closing hymn is number 1028 in the Teal Hymnal, The Fire of Commitment. We gather here this morning as we begin a new and exciting church year. It's going to keep us on our toes. We don't know where we're going to be worshiping from week to week, whether here or in the chapel up the hill, depending on construction on this building. We're going to have to stay nimble with COVID restrictions and whatever happens with all of that that is still happening in our lives. And yet, here you are, a living, breathing community with a deep fire of commitment to each other and to this congregation that has captured our hearts, where we have all found a sense of home, a sense of clarity, a sense of identity, and a sense of commitment. May we continue to be that space for all of us and for all who may wish to join us. Amen. And blessed be.
Thank you.